So yesterday I got 90 plants up potted into my DIY soil blocks. In one 10-20 tray, I can get 18 plants, and we got 5 trays total done yesterday. I still have a lot more to do, and I thought that I would show you again this year how I do that because these are working out fantastic. Welcome back to A Better Choice Homestead, where on my channel I focus on food, growing it, preparing it, and preserving it. And today is all about DIY soil blocking. We are going to be up potting some tomatoes, and we're also going to be planting some new seeds because we are about 6 weeks away from being able to get things outside. I'm going to start some things that a lot of people just start outside, but I do deal with a lot of slugs and snails here, and I feel like to give the plants a better fighting chance, I like to start those inside, things like squash. So that's what we're going to be doing today, but we're going to be doing them in my DIY soil blocks so that they have a bigger base to grow into over the next 6 weeks until I get them in their beds. And here's how we're going to do that. I've already got 3 flats made up, but I'm going to need more. So I'm going to show you how to do one. We're just going to make 18 blocks here. I've got pre-moistened soil. This is a seed starting mix that does have nutrients in it. It's from Coast of Maine. And I have shown this mix on other seed starting videos. And then to that, I've added a bunch of worm castings. I will also now start to fertilize my plants once they are in the larger soil blocks. And I'll just use a diluted fish fertilizer for that while they're inside. And for the ones that I did get potted up yesterday, today they spent their first 2-hour session outside starting the hardening off period. It's just so nice here, unseasonably nice here. We're breaking records this week. It is absolutely gorgeous, so warm outside. And I think tomorrow we're actually going to be like in the 80s in April, which is unheard of. So we're getting everything ready, and who knows, maybe they can go out a lot sooner than normal, which is around Memorial Day. So I've got pre-moistened soil. I use boiling water on my soil, even though it's a seed starting mix, because I just find that that helps cut down on any bugs that have laid eggs in it and then will hatch once you get this soil wet and start working with it. So I do use boiling water, and then I let it cool down, and then I just have a 4x4 soft plastic nursery pot here that, I don't know, it probably came from Azure Standard with a year or 2 or 3 ago when I ordered a start from them. I've got a few of these, and this works perfect for making soil blocks. So you just get the soil in there and you compact it down as much as you can, and it definitely, their soil needs to be wet. It needs to be able to hold together, hold form. But you'll notice that once we get everything in here, they hold each other together as well. So as long as you can kind of get them to hold together, you should be fine. So I've got this absolutely stuffed with soil right now. I'm going to cover it so it doesn't fall out, and I'm going to squeeze all 4 sides with my thumb and my fingers, and that's going to help start to loosen it so that we can plop it right out into our hand. And then we're just going to hold that, and we're going to flip it up and just put it in and kind of smush it down just a little bit to stabilize the base, because as you squeeze it out of here, the base gets narrower. So we're just going to do that 18 times. You see it's kind of cone shaped, so when we flip it over, we're going to press it down and make it flatter on the bottom, just a little, just so it has good stability. I do own traditional soil blocks or real soil making blockers. But I find I don't like the size of them because you have to have something to put them in, like a 10-20 tray. But for the large soil blocker, you can't get a good spread. You end up with gaps, and that's, I feel like, wasted space. So I can't get as many of these in there because they're twice as big as these blocks. And for the medium soil blocker, that one's fine too, but I mean, you still have to pot those up into the larger soil blocks at some point. So I like starting with this size. I think that this is a perfect size. It gets me to where I need to be from a timing perspective to just be able to plant this block right into the garden space outside once it's time to transplant. And then the mini soil blocks, I did not like those at all. I did not have luck with those. I did have luck with them as long as I was doing like a full tray of one thing, and that's a lot for a backyard gardener. So I'm not doing 200 of anything. So I just don't like the smaller soil blocks. I like my foil pan method. It's super cheap, it's super easy, it's easy to clean up, it's easy to store. You don't have all those individual cells that you need to get clean at the end of the season, or sorry, at the end of seed starting time when you go to transplant things. I just really like this method. As you can see, it works beautifully. These are healthy little tomato starts. I've already up potted some of them from out of here. But this is just so easy. It's a little time consuming. I don't think it's more time consuming than any other way you're gonna be up potting things. You're still gonna be putting soil in something. We're just taking that one extra step to squeeze it back out. And this is less waste, less effort when you're done, and beautiful soil blocks that will air prune your roots so that the plants don't get root bound. So I think it leads to healthier plants. And you're really only in it for the investment of your soil each year once you have whatever trays you're going to be using to hold the soil blocks. So for me, that's Bootstrap Farmer 1020 trays, which are not cheap, but you know, start with a couple and work your way up from there. You can also just use plastic like dish tub bins. You can use those if you'd like. Just make sure that they're smaller sided so that you can easily get the soil blocks back out. Whatever you have. You could even use a container like this. So I'll show you how I up pot the tomatoes, and I'll also show you how to start seeds in these as well. This just works so beautifully. It's so easy. Messy, but who doesn't like getting their hands in worm dirt to grow your own vegetables? Soil is a little steamy still down here at the bottom, but it's cool enough to touch, so we're going to be fine with the transplants as well. With the seeds, it doesn't matter so much. So what I do when I'm getting ready to start is I will fill this container as much as possible with the soil and the worm castings. And then I will boil a big pot of water on the stove. Once it comes to a boil, I just pour it over the top of the dry soil, mix it through, and then I let it sit for an hour or so while I'm heating up another pot of water to keep the process going. And it just works beautifully. And it's really inexpensive. I think it costs about $10 to fill this container here with the soil that I use, which is a seed starting mix, as I mentioned, with some amendments in it. And we're gonna get 18 total areas to either transplant or start seeds in. And I'm sure you can find some less expensive medium if you are interested in that. I just prefer the seed starting mix that comes with some NPK in it. And then I add, like I mentioned, the worm castings, just because I want to cut down on the risk of inviting all of those fungus gnats and other flying things into my home. Of course, at this point, if I'm hardening things off, they're going to get into the soil anyway during the time the plants are outside. But it still makes sense to me to do that to reduce the risk and reduce the population. Couple more blocks. And one more. Now we have 18 blocks to work with. So for transplanting, I've got my little transplanting tool here. And if you saw me start these seeds, you know that this is 2 foil pans nestled together, and the top pan has drainage holes in it. And then I just use little tags, and this year I'm trying something new. So I've just numbered the tags, and then I have a spreadsheet that I'm keeping track of what everything is. So this is number 69. So I'm gonna put this right at the beginning of this row, and I'm gonna let these 3 blocks be that plant for number 69. So in my foil container here, I'm just going to use the forked side of this tool, and I'm gonna dig down in between the rows, and we're gonna just get it lifted out. And then I'm gonna take the 3 healthiest looking starts here to transplant. And oh, they smell so good. It smells like spring. Okay, so I'm looking for good stem diameter. They all look really, really healthy. So this, you know, I can choose whatever I want. So I'm gonna break a couple pieces off here carefully. And right now I'm going for this guy right up front here. So I'm just gonna let some of this soil fall away. And I'm just gonna pinch off the other 2 that are up there. And now I have one start that I'm gonna put right here. And I'm just gonna use my finger and I'm gonna make a hole in the middle. And then I'm gonna place the roots down into the hole and push that tomato down just as deep as I can, because you can bury tomatoes pretty deep. They'll grow roots along their stem wherever they come into contact with soil. And now we have one transplant done. So I need 2 more of this guy. This one looks pretty good. I'm just gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna make a hole here with my finger. And then we're gonna get those roots in. And we're gonna nestle him down just as far as we can. Make him shorter because he'll grow more roots that way. And then we need 1 more. There's 2 good options right here. Just carefully teasing those roots apart. And I need to do that 1 more time. I like this guy right here. I'm just taking off some of the loose soil so I don't have to make quite as big of a hole to get him in. And make sure his roots go in. And then when this tray gets filled up, I'll go back and I will water everything in well. And then these guys I'm just gonna compost. I always start more seeds than I need to. And this year I didn't have my garden layout done before I started seeds. So I started a lot more than I needed to. The other thing on here that is important to keep in mind is you want to have an indentation in the center of each block so that your water drains into the planting hole and not over the sides of your soil block. So I go back through and I just press everything down and make a little well right around the plant stem. And so those transplants are done. That was really easy. I've got a bunch more in here to do, as you can see, but I'm only gonna be taking 3 of each out of this container. So these guys are done. But right now we're gonna move on to the seed planting. So I'll show you how to do those. Got a whole fresh tray here. So first of all, I can do 18 in here. Now, I'm not going to do a lot of any one kind of these seeds. Yesterday, I took the time to pick the seeds that I wanted to grow and then made the tags for them and put them in the order in which they're listed on the spreadsheet. So for example, this melon, this Edisto 47 cantaloupe melon on my spreadsheet is number 101. So I have a tag here that says 101, and I'm gonna put that right in front, and then I'm gonna put 2 seeds in here. These seeds are pretty old. These seeds were packed for 2021. Although I have been getting pretty good germination even on my old seeds. I think I've only had 3 that I have so far tossed because we didn't get germination. So I'm gonna take 2 of those seeds and we're just gonna push them right into the center of this block. I only want 1 of these to keep. So if both sprout, then I will just clip 1 off. I don't have enough space in my yard for a whole lot of melons, and that's not the only melon I want to do. I also wanna do this Petite Gris de Rennes, which is another beautiful looking melon. This is from Baker Creek. I'm gonna take the tag and put it right in front of the block I'm gonna use. Take out 2 seeds, and I'm just going to push them in. They want to be planted twice as deep as the seed is wide, and so I'm just estimating that. So the seed is, you know, this wide, and so we want to go twice that deep down, and then just cover that back up. And again, you want to make sure that you have a little indentation so that the water can pool there and not just run off the sides. And next, I have a summer squash. This is a Ford hook summer squash. I'm going to do 2 of those. And push that in. Get my indentation. And now we're going to do another zucchini. This is a long white of Palermo zucchini. This is from 2022. We'll get that pushed in, covered up, and then indented. And next we have a gray zucchini. And this is from 2024, so these are last year's seeds. So as you can see, it is not hard planting seeds. You kind of just have to figure out what method you want to use. They're going to need light. It's better if they have warmth to germinate. It's warm enough outside these days that I can stick these guys outside as well. But I also have heat mats that I can use. And this is a Hamilton winter squash from, when did I get these? 2021. And I still have seeds in here. So hopefully these will germinate. A couple of the seeds are broken, so I'm not going to use those. And to me, it doesn't matter where the numbers go because everything is individual at this point. And this is a green striped cushaw that I bought in 2022. And it looks like I've not even ever opened this. So we're going to give these a try. These are much bigger seeds. I'm going to plant them deeper. Get them covered up. And make sure I have a well to hold the water. And next we have another winter squash. This is Sweet Meat. This is a delicious winter squash, and these seeds are from 2021. So if I get one of each of these plants, I will be happy and good to go. This is going to generate a whole lot of food. And then I have a Burgess Buttercup. This doesn't have a date on it. Also larger seeds, and I know these are a few years old. But as you can see, they are much bigger than some of the other ones we've been planting. So I'm going to get those down at a good depth before I cover them up. And then make sure that we have that crater in the middle just to hold water. And now we have Candy Roaster. This is one of my absolute favorites. They produce massive, massive squashes that are just so incredibly delicious. I did not grow these last year just because they're so big. I have to have a pretty large area dedicated when I do these. And next we're going to do a watermelon. This is a Sugar Baby watermelon. These seeds are much smaller. Sugar babies are small fruits. These poor guys have been waiting for years to be able to do their thing and sprout. And then I have a sugar pie pumpkin from M.I. Gardner here from 2021. These are a little bigger. So we'll make sure we get them at a good depth. Just push them in. Get that crater to hold water. And now I have a New England sugar pie. I lost my tag down there. I got it. I'm gonna stick it in the soil. All right, so here we have sugar pie pumpkin. This one is also unopened and also purchased for last year. So in 2023 for 2024. I'll hold off on this guy for a minute. Then I have a Wisconsin SMR cucumber. So this is a pickling cucumber. I still have a lot of pickles in my pantry. I don't know that I need to make pickles this year, but I really do like cucumbers and I just really like to grow things, so we're gonna do it anyway. But remember, only one plant from each of these soil blocks is going to end up in the garden. And then I have a Market More cucumber that I'll grow. And then this one I wanted to grow as well. These are seeds that I saved from a pumpkin last year. So I'll get those open and we'll get those planted right here. So what is your favorite way to start seeds? And do you start all of them inside or do you sow outside? I typically start them all inside, but this year I am going to be starting some outside. I'm going to be prepping beds this weekend so we can get going on that. Like my peas, I'm a couple weeks late on the peas, but that's okay. I have peas producing throughout most of the summer, so it's okay that I'm late on those. And I think I'm going to try to direct sow some flowers, even though I have seed started some flowers as well. I just did some more cosmos and some marigolds, and I think the borage I'm going to do outside this year. I did the zinnias this week as well. So we did seed start a whole bunch of flowers as well. But what is your favorite way to seed start? Again, mine is my foil pan method that just yields hundreds and hundreds of plants in a very small footprint. Very healthy plants also. And then my DIY soil blocking. And it looks like I have 2 more blocks that I can plant something here in. So I'm gonna pick a couple more seeds to go in here, and then this block will be done. And then I am going to finish separating and transplanting the rest of these tomatoes. And then I'll be in pretty good shape. I've got a pan down there with my cold weather stuff that's gonna go out this week into green stalks and into beds. So those pans will be emptied out, washed, and saved here soon. And that includes like the kale, the lettuces, the broccolis, the collards, things like that. I'm looking at a whole bunch of different ones. And I did also transplant or up pot the cosmos that I got from Azure Standard in my last order, because they were just in those tiny little cells, and yes, their roots were completely root bound in there, so I spread them out, gave them just a little more room in here. Much healthier for your plants than getting them root bound and keeping them contained in smaller spaces. And now we're going to move back to up potting all of these tomato plants. And I know that that can be a little daunting if you're not used to doing it. But if your plant starts are healthy, they're going to survive this just fine. So here I am putting in just one individual tomato plant, and I'll talk you through the next ones from start to finish. So I am getting out a block of plants here. I'm just using that little tool. Remember, if you saw me make these soil blocks, you saw that I had used a chopstick to define areas for each different variety. So I'm just using this tool in that chopstick indentation to make a clear separation that I can then just lift from. And it just lifts up like a block. And then I'm just carefully separating them, and you're gonna hear the roots pull, but as I mentioned, if they're healthy starts, that's not going to be a big deal for them. Some of their roots are going to tear. You just wanna make sure that they do have some. And if they have too much soil on them, I'm getting that off of the roots just so that I don't have to make too big of a hole in the soil block. I'm burying them down just as deep as I can. I don't want them all the way at the bottom of the block because we want soil around the roots. So I'm burying them as deep as I can for now. And then when these get transplanted into the garden, I'll bury them as deep as I can again. So using my fingers, just making a hole in each block, big enough to let that root ball into, and then covering it up and making sure that I have the well or the indentation around the base of the stem. That's where you're gonna pour your water when you water these. Otherwise, because this 10-20 tray does not have tall sides, the water could just run right off of your block. So just carefully separating them as carefully as I can. They are gonna survive just fine. They're not super, super delicate. Tomatoes are pretty hardy in their juvenile state here. And then just putting them in individual planting holes where they're going to be so much happier, because this seed starting mix does have NPK already in it. And then of course I added the worm castings. So now there's more food and more space for each of these plants. And even though they look so healthy and so beautiful right now, they're going to look even better in just a week or two. They're going to start to get really big. So we might only have about 6 weeks or so, 6 to 8 weeks before these can go out, just depending on what our weather does. And it's been so incredibly nice here. It might actually only be 3 or 4 more weeks before they could go out. We'll see. But by the time they go out, they're going to be really strong and healthy. And from this point forward, when I water them once a week, I will give them a diluted fish fertilizer water soak, and they will also start their hardening off period outside. And I typically harden them off to start with about 2 hours with morning sun, and then I can progress it from there day by day. They just come out so nicely. I love this method. You just want to make sure that they are fully acclimated to the sun before you get them out there full time, because the sun can burn them. I think you can hear a tear on that one. These plants are going to be just fine. They're going to survive that. And they're not stressed from being too close together. They're very healthy. They look great. They're going to do just fine. And this is the point in which I will start hardening my plants off as well. Honestly, just because my one singular grow shelf, I had 5, but now those shelves are part of my pantry, and I'm not buying any more shelves. So I do timeshare on my shelf. Half the time, or 12 hours, they're under lights, and half the time they're on my prep table in here. But if they can spend most of their days outside because the weather is nice, nice, sunny, warm, not raining too much. Please do not leave these outside in the rain. They do not have drainage holes in these 10-20 trays, and you will flood your plants. So as long as it's a nice day, why not let them spend outside getting more and more acclimated to the elements. So we're just going to repeat here until these are all up potted. This one has a monster stem on it already. So healthy. There is just nothing that I find that works better than this method, seriously. They're happy, they're healthy, they're growing. They don't take up too much space in the beginning, and they're easy to tease apart to put into their own growing space when ready. This guy looks fantastic. And we are almost done here. So I think I just have one more block to do. I'm just getting off the extra soil off of the one plant that I have picked so far, burying him down just as deep as I can, up to the first leaf if possible. And then making sure it's got that well around the stem. And just looking for one more. I'm trying to get the best, and I know I overseeded, I always do, that's okay. If I had to guess, I would say these are probably the Cherokee purples. But I don't know that because I just have numbers and I don't have my spreadsheet next to me. But they are pretty big. We have 18 more plants potted up. I just have one more tomato plant here to do, and I think I might do some onions or something. We'll see, because I've got another tray here which is what I have the cosmos potted up into. I only have 4 cosmos in there, so the rest of the tray I can dedicate to more potting up. And in these 2 cells, I went ahead and put more of the long white of Palermo summer zucchini squash. So now I just need to make tags for those, put them on my spreadsheet so I don't lose track. But that is how easy it is to do DIY soil blocks for healthier plants, easier cleanup after transplanting out into the garden, because you just have to spray out one 10-20 tray and not a million of those individual cells that are time consuming to get clean. So I love this method. I'd love to hear your comments about it down below. If you have any questions about soil blocking or DIY soil blocking, leave them below because I will answer you. Thank you so much for joining me for another edition of Sunday Fun Day, where I showed once again how I do my DIY soil blocks for potting up as well as for seed starting. My name is Kelly, you're at A Better Choice Homestead, and I do hope you come back and visit again soon.